Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, hold on. Something's wrong with my, can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I can hear you now. All right. I'm trying to figure out how to claim the host. Let's see.
Oh, I know.
Raise hand, show captions, and either claim host or three dots. Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. I see it. Claim host. This is the first time I've ever done this. Okay. 801. I have to turn on closed captions, show captions. Now we find the agenda. Okay. I guess we have to wait till 7 though.
Yeah.
Okay, my clock says 7 o'clock, so I am going to call this meeting to order. I'm Julie Smith Galvin, member of the Environmental Sustainability Committee. Judy, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Judy Green. I work for the Conservation Commission. I'm working on the open space plan. And I also work for the town.
Great. And I will say that we are a number of people short tonight because we're in the middle of a transition into our new members of the committee. So we're very much hoping that by our next meeting, we will have a fuller committee, but we didn't want to miss the chance to get some updates because there's lots of things happening in town. Item number 2 is public participation. We have a couple of people on the phone. You're welcome to introduce yourself and share your thoughts. I think Paul was on first, if you'd like, or you can just stay and listen.
I'm just here to listen.
Okay. Lee?
I'm here to listen.
Great. Okay, good. Just want to give everybody a chance. Okay, so item number 3, and I will say I think Judy's going to have the most to say on all of these. But item number 3 is the open space recreation plan process, which is now underway. So Judy, why don't you give us an update?
We had our first public forum a week ago. It was somewhat sparsely attended, but a lot of good ideas, a lot of areas people want to look into. And the survey is ongoing through Friday. And there are also some paper surveys that we put at Town Hall and at the Council on Aging. So we're hoping to get more turnout that way. But the consultants that the town hired to help us with the open space plan update have identified conservation areas across town, and there's some associated mapping to familiarize people with the open areas that we have. Some already have trails on them. Some we're hoping to maybe work with the Boy Scouts or other people and have some new trails blazed. There are also a couple of wetland habitat areas / climate resilience areas that we'd also like to get people accustomed to learn about the value of these areas, especially the wetland areas, why we need to protect them, and how people would like us to move forward with that. What areas you think are important, if you'd like more information on certain areas, who lives in these habitats, what are they connected to? I know in Greenwood, there's a large portion around Maple Way Playground that's an area of critical environmental concern, which is a pretty big designation. And at Reedy Meadow, it's a national natural landmark that was designated by the Department of Interior, the federal department, because it's a unique wetland habitat. And that's an untouched area, which is really a beautiful spot. If you haven't been out there at the end of Audubon Road, there's some signage out there. The Boy Scouts have put in some trails, a little bridge over, there's a wet area. So it's kind of a seasonal area, depending on, it's in the floodplain, so it is flooded at some times of the year. But it's a beautiful spot for birding. It's a small trail, but it's really, it's like a diamond in the rough in that area. You just happen upon it. So there are a lot of areas, if you want to look at the plan, it's online on the Conservation Commission webpage. If you have questions, you can reach out to us, suggestions, ideas, what you'd like to see, whether it's in the open spaces or the parks. If you'd like to see some enhancements. I know we're working towards with the Council on Aging on having age-friendly areas at some of these parks and different accessible areas. They just put in a handicapped accessible swing at the Dolbear School, and that enables someone who's in a wheelchair to actually use a swing, which I know the Benjamins, Dan and Lois Benjamin, have pushed for this for a long time, and it's really an innovative idea. And they're hoping, and I think it'll probably happen. It'll, we'll start seeing it at other parks. And I think it's really a great, rather than, some of the people sitting on the sidelines, especially the kids, they can actually take part in these activities with the other kids. So a lot of exciting ideas in the plan. And we're just hoping to gain some momentum and get some more interest in the plan and some of the ideas, trying to get more ideas. So if you have time to look at it and want to have some input, that would be great.
Yeah, I took the survey. I was really surprised. I feel like I know a lot of things around town, and I probably didn't know where half of those places are. So actually taking it with the map is a really good idea as well. There's a lot of opportunities there. So
Yeah,
you said that's open till this Friday.
correct.
Okay. Good. And is there going to be a future meeting? Or are you going to now
There'll
take some of this data, or what's the next
be
step?
another public forum. I think it's sometime in June. It hasn't been set yet. once all the survey results are tabulated and the ideas from the forum are put together, then it'll be more of a roundtable discussion. You know, this is what people are talking about. What do you think? How should we move forward? And it will be presented to the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission as well for their input.
And how does this overlap, Judy, with the tax title? Is that being folded into this?
That's an integral part of this. It's the reason the tax title search was started was there were so many properties in the town forest that were taken years ago, decades ago for tax title. And as we started to look at the open space plan, we thought there really should be some protection. So we're hoping once the titles are cleared, we can put together, the Conservation Commission will put together a list of these are the properties that we would recommend be placed under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. And then that will go to town council for review and approval. And we can go from there. I mean, some of the spots are better under the Parks Department, maybe some are better under the Water Department. So it's certainly not every parcel is going to be under conservation. But I would like to see, especially the stretch that goes from Maple Way to JJ Round. I would like to see that area under conservation. It makes sense to me because it's not, some of it is traversable, but it's not something that is going to be really useful to the town in terms of building anything on.
Right. Oh, I think this is a really great direction we're going in.
Yeah,
Sure.
and it'll hopefully spur, we talk about pocket parks all the time, and I think smaller areas are much more achievable. And then once people see it, it's, you know, I want that in my neighborhood too. So
Yes.
hopefully we'll get some energy from that as well. I think that would be a huge bonus, having little pocket parks across town. And that's how when we started talking about this whole process, it was looked at as broken up into the voting districts. So in each voting district, we'd try to have either a conservation area, a pocket park, something unique to that corner of town. And then we put together mapping. If you're from out of town, if you're in Wakefield, you could say, oh, if I go to Betts, there's pickleball court. If I go Holland Road, there are hiking trails. If I go here, there's a small pocket park, things like that. So it gives people destinations throughout town.
I did not know that that's how it was originally thought through.
Yeah.
Was by
That's how I'd like to do.
I think that's an interesting way to.
Well, because
I mean, there's this concept of a 10-minute city, right? Where like everybody should have, and I personally believe that people should have parks and open space within a walk distance as well.
Right.
So I think
and
that's
especially since COVID, having little gathering areas, even if it's a small area. I mean, you see them pop up in Melrose, whether it's along the street, and it is such an enormous gathering area, especially on the weekends. But, you know, there's one that's near a coffee shop. It's the same people every week that I see. So I think it adds to a community feel.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
We talked last night at town council. Engineering was in front of us, and they're going to do some renovations to that big 5-way stop sign at Oak and Green and Greenwood.
Yeah.
And when that intersection is basically made safer, essentially, it's going to leave it's going to take away a lot of pavement and potentially put in a lot of green space too. So we should keep our eye on that as well. I hope.
That would be great.
Yeah. Okay, so I think our next item, and I have to apologize because I don't think I put these on the agenda, and I'm sure it's probably why we have some people here, but I'm happy to talk about them. We have the vocational school land use issues update. I actually think that's a holdover from another. But Judy, if you want, I don't know whether you just feel comfortable sharing where we are in Conservation Commission, perhaps.
Conservation is close to, I think, the end of their process. They still have some outstanding issues they're looking at in terms of some stormwater blasting. The wetland peer review consultant is still working on things. I think Bill Renault may be through with the majority of his stormwater review, but it's still on the agenda.
Okay. So there's still opportunities to share.
Yes.
Still the public, it's still in a public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, as I think people know, the Environmental Sustainability Committee did make a statement on the vocational school, so we'll see where it goes from there. Public land, again, I don't think I put this on, but public land interest updates. Is that anything
No, I think,
specific?
no, I think Myra wanted that on there. I think I mean, it rolls in with the open space plan, I think. Just
Yeah,
looking at, and I think mapping the trails, identifying so people know where these areas are. And that'll be covered with the open space plan.
that's true. And we did talk about Butler Ave last night, which I know is an area of land that she, and we're talking about Myra Sessions, who's on this committee, previously. So that's a piece of land that the town owns and is being capped. But it sounds like there's still some work there with DEP, but eventually we'll have to determine what to do with that land. But it sounds like there'll be trails in there regardless, just because there'll
I
be
think
areas
so.
that won't be able to be built on for safety reasons.
Right, right. And that it's a beautiful spot. And I think
It is.
trails would really be. It could
I think it's
really,
gonna be amazing back there.
I do too.
Okay, recruitment for Conservation Corps. Super excited about this. And I know
Yep,
Conservation
that's-
took this up recently as well.
Yes, at the meeting last week, they appointed 3 trail stewards. We had interest from, I think, 4 others, and we haven't received their paperwork yet. And that might just be in the works. So we're just in the process of figuring out which areas they'll be assigned to if they have a preference, and then they can get up and running.
And
So
that
it's
will
exciting.
be, so like, will they get some training or?
There is a handbook that we put together on what to look for, and also one of the people I will ask if they will take on the Spring Street trails, because
Okay.
there's already an active Trails Steward program in Melrose, and they were interested in linking together. So I think that would be a good starting point.
Okay, so that's good. And so that's gonna be just a rolling, anybody who's interested at any time can put it in? and-
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay, I'm excited about that.
yeah, I think it'll be a good addition.
So we're kind of blowing through the agenda here. So the next one is schedule the next meeting, which I don't know whether we might want to wait. So the Environmental Sustainability Committee is meeting tomorrow, the full committee. And at that point, people will get their subcommittee assignments. And so maybe we hold and decide on that tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Is that okay
think
with
that's fine.
you?
Mhm. Yep.
Anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about? And I'll open up the public comment again if people want to talk. That's fine with me.
This is a good time of year to remove invasives.
Okay.
The UMass Amherst has a great website on how to identify them, which are invasive in this area, how to get rid of them. They also have a program about tick awareness and reporting. They have a lab you can send the tick in to see if it's infected with Lyme disease.
Okay.
So that's also, unfortunately.
And
Mass
that's
Wildlife,
there's just is it a UMass Amherst or?
UMass Amherst, yep, the
Okay.
extension school. They have
The
a
extension,
huge
okay.
program. Yep, they have online classes, they have in-person classes for the public. Mass Wildlife also has a lot of good tips for this time of year, interacting with wildlife, how to limit your interaction with wildlife. Different myths dispelled about, especially coyotes, things like that, just how to coexist.
Okay.
And I think it's National Arbor Month this month.
Okay.
So the Arbor Day Foundation has a lot of good tips on their website about tree planting, the value of native plantings. That's on the Conservation Commission website as well. The biggest thing about planting with native plants is once they are rooted, you do not have to water them. They survive on their own. So it's such a huge savings. If they can't survive on the rainwater, then they're not going to just survive. But if you plant trees and shrubs, flowers that are native to this area, and there's a list on the UMass website, there's also a list on the Conservation Commission website. You plant them, water them the first week, and then you don't have to touch them again.
Oh, that's my kind of
Yeah,
maintenance.
yeah. It avoids
Um,
sprinklers and everything else.
I think Wakefield was just named Arbor Town again, which is nice.
I think so.
And I did hear at a meeting yesterday that the light department has had a tree program going on, and I think technically it was supposed to end on April 30th, but they still have some available. So if people
Yes,
need trees, they can reach out to you can always reach out to the town, but the light department has a program
light
going on
department.
right now
Yep.
as well.
and they've done a great job. They have a partnership with Dennis from the forestry department, the town. They plant one for one, light will plant one, and the town will plant one, but they're planting them in areas where it won't interfere with the wires, which wasn't always the case, 40 years ago when they were planting them. So it's a much better survival rate. And they can plant a lot more because they're both doing half of it. So that's huge.
I know it's our goal to double, if not kind of not triple, the number of trees that we put
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
What about, so Judy, you know so much about this, the Rotary's campaign on No Mow May,
Mhm.
that pollinator, there's
It gives the pollinators a chance to pollinate before you do the first cut in May. And I mean, the thing about cutting in May is when it's the first burst in the spring, it always looks a lot longer. But if you just wait a few more weeks to the start of June, it gives them such a head start. Because if you start cutting, because people generally cut far too low to begin with, and they move on. So it's going to cut back with all the pesticides, with everything else that's competing. This gives them a real head start. And it's a boost. It's a boost to all we don't have the pollinators, we don't have the trees. And that's another advantage of native plants. That's what attracts the pollinators.
Okay.
And they're in such short supply now that it's really critical.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see that campaign kind of get some traction.
Yeah, it was great having the Rotary Club sign on. I think that was a huge boost. And I know I've heard some people say, oh, now people are going to get stung by bees. Now you're attracting bees. And that just isn't the case. Bees aren't going to seek you out and attack you.
Right.
That just
Right.
doesn't happen.
Right. I think the only other thing I have is tomorrow night is STEAM night at the Galvin Middle School. So it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And so I know the environmental committee is going to have a table there. We worked with some fifth graders to go through what they think the town is doing for climate change, which is nice.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's going to, they had some really interesting, nothing like seeing the world through the eyes of a fourth grader.
Right.
But I think there's going to be a lot of different tables there too, and some that touch upon these things, which
Yeah.
FOLQ is usually there talking about water quality, which is really great. I usually let the kids test the water quality and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And May is National Wetlands Month.
Oh, okay.
So now's the time to go out to one of these conservation areas that are wetland habitat and get a look. It's the time of year for vernal pools. You can hear the wood frogs, identify. Mass Wildlife there's also a vernal pool society in Massachusetts, and it gives you all the pictures of what to look for, the different egg masses, the tadpoles. And it's great. Kids love it. You go out. There's one right at Maple Way. There's one near the boat on Montrose Ave. There's one. And just look at the progression because it's such a short period of time this time of year. And just trying to
When will it
identify.
end? Is it just like till the end of the month until it gets warmer, or
Till it dries up enough. So just do it. So it's not a long period.
Okay. Huh.
But now
I also noticed that Friends of Lake Quantipout are talking about lake quality at their meeting, at their annual dinner next week as well.
Yeah, that's a historic topic.
Yeah,
exactly. How that rolls out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Someone actually called the conservation office a couple of weeks ago asking if she could bring her grandchildren to swim at the lake. Should I go by? It looks so nice. Sorry. Nope.
You think it'll ever be swimmable again?
I know they'll try. I don't see it happening, honestly.
Yeah, it's a big lake.
Yeah,
All right, well, that's a topic for another day, and there's actually, I don't know whether there's still a subcommittee on it, but we're trying to
yeah, I
figure out.
don't think it's met for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're gonna, I think
Okay.
moving forward, we're gonna look, conservation is gonna look at maybe certifying more vernal pools. So
Oh,
I
good.
think that would be, yeah, that I think is pretty exciting. It's a step in the right direction, because I think it gets people talking about, looking in their own yards. There's a few people that have come to conservation and didn't realize that they may have vernal pools in their backyard. So just how to identify it, what you look for. And they have a lot of, Mass Wildlife and the Vernal Pool Society have a ton of videos that give you the audio, so you can hear the wood frogs and
Okay.
identify it. And when you go up like further on the North Shore, you hear them all the time. It sounds like
Yeah.
quacking ducks, but it's actually the frogs. But it's pretty amazing how
Yeah,
the
I
life
think that would be a
cycle.
great education campaign. I'll give some of this information to Tiana too, just like the resources you gave. Maybe we can do some posting.
Yeah,
on
and Elaine Vreeland, one of the conservation agents, and the conservation chairman have put together a curriculum for the elementary school. And they've met with, I don't know which school, because Elaine used to do this before. She did a little curriculum on vernal pools
Oh,
around the elementary schools. So they're trying to put that together again because it was really successful. And Elaine loved doing it. So I think that would be a good open up a topic of discussion with the parents and,
yes.
just a broader knowledge base of what's around us.
Yep.
I think that'll be exciting.
Good. Oh, so much going on.
Mm.
All right, well, I think that if there's not any other matters.
And if anyone who's on the call wants to fill out the open space and rec plan survey, it's on our website, it's on the town website. Doesn't take long, less than 10 minutes.
Yes, please.
We appreciate it.
Hello, I'm
Hi.
Lee. Since you offered, I wasn't gonna talk, but I'll talk a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
My wife and I just moved to Wakefield last September. And actually.
What's
since
your,
we-
could you just give us your address? That's just protocol.
Yeah, it's 175 North Avenue.
Okay. Go ahead.
Unit 315. Yeah. And couple things. I joined the Friends of Lake Quannapoet, and I'm actually, a couple weeks ago, I became involved with the water quality testing. So I'm involved in getting all the data together, which seems to be scattered around in different places. So at least we'll have some sort of baseline for going forward and seeing if the efforts that we do to clean up the lake have an effect on the actual water quality measurements. So that's one thing, but the other thing is, the reason I'm on the call is because I've been, for a short time we've been here, I've been involved with a Save the Forest vocational school campaign, and so that's how I got the link for this meeting. And so I'm not actually sure still what your organization has to do with that. I'll just say that it's, coming from outside, the decision to build the school where it is just seems totally unreasonable to me. And it's hard to believe that it's going forward. But it is going forward, and apparently it's going to happen. But I was just, I guess my question is, what role does your group have in this process?
Sure. So this is a subcommittee of the Environmental Sustainability Committee, which is a town volunteer board appointed by the town council. I'm on the town council. We do not have any adjudicating or decision-making kind of authority directly with this facility, frankly, with any facility. So we do more kind of public awareness and initiatives in town. And then this sub land use committee is kind of on open spaces. So Conservation Commission, which we were talking about earlier, they obviously have a role to play, and they are making decisions on it. Zoning Board of Appeals. we have and I don't have it right here, but that you can look on our website. There's a statement that the Environmental Sustainability Committee put together, kind of saying that, you know, all things being equal, this definitely should not, you know, that would have liked a little more, I think, due diligence on this. But other than just kind of giving a sense of the committee members' opinions, there's not a lot that this committee has direct impact over, other than kind of just, you know, statements and some built up, I think, legitimacy and credibility around environmental issues. But yeah, the VOC issue is does seem to be moving forward, though it's still in conservation. It's still looking at conservation, and I think that there's still some state pressure on it. But I don't think there are many more decisions outside of conservation that the town of Wakefield is going to have power to make.
Thank you.
Sure. Is that, Judy, would you say that's accurate?
Yes. Yeah, ZBA gave their decision last week.
Right, and I know it went back in front of MEPA, in front of the Massachusetts Environmental
Mhm.
Protection Act, and was evaluated again, and so they are not going to take it up. And it's been through all of the MSBA process, so
Yeah.
we definitely need a school, and I know that all of you who are talking about the forest recognize we need a school too. That's not the
Right.
issue.
Yeah, it's been a long process, I understand, and we just kind of got in on the tail end of it, but everyone I've talked to, even outside, you know, the state, they can't believe that this is actually happening. It just doesn't make any sense. But there you go. So I guess it's not happening until it's actually they start
Yeah.
blasting, but you never know, right?
Right. All right, well, yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts. Definitely,
Okay.
we've heard that, and we continue to hear it, and we note it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I guess if we don't have anything else, we will adjourn, and for public, please keep your eye on the website for future meetings. And there are a number of other subcommittees as well. There's education subcommittee, there is a waste subcommittee, and some energy work going on as well. So we look forward to keeping you involved. Okay, all right. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie.
Bye.